Okay, today we live in a world of constant noise where social media magnifies every success and failure, making us believe that wealth or status defines who we are. But imagine a world where true worth is measured not by labels or rank, but by the quiet strength of inner virtue and reason. What if ancient philosophers had already shown us this path of equality and freedom? Welcome to Stoic Dhamma. Today we explore how Stoic philosophy and other ancient teachings reveal profound insights on caste, spiritual equality, and the practical wisdom that can guide our modern lives. These ideas remind us that human dignity is not bound by social rank, wealth, or heritage, but by the strength of our character and the clarity of our reason. Through the words of Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, alongside echoes from Hindu and ancient traditions, we will uncover how equality has always been a spiritual practice as much as a social question. This is not simply history, but a mirror to help us see more clearly, and a practice to live more justly, with compassion, courage, and moral purpose in the midst of our busy modern world. Stoicism begins with a radical but disarmingly simple claim. The worth of a human being is measured not by wealth, ancestry, or political power, but by the capacity for reason and the practice of virtue. In an age shaped by rigid hierarchies, this was a quiet revolution of thought. The Stoics urged us to look beneath appearances and to see in every person the same potential for wisdom and moral strength. For the Stoic, the true self is never chained to the shifting accidents of life. Poverty, fame, or birthright are external conditions, unstable, fleeting, and ultimately irrelevant. What endures is the inner faculty to think clearly, to choose what is just, and to live in accord with nature's law. From this vantage point, social inequality loses its authority, revealing a deeper dignity shared by all. Epictetus embodied this truth. Born into slavery, he rose to become one of philosophy's most enduring voices. His teaching was firm. No master can command the mind of one who chooses virtue. Chains may bind the body, but the soul remains free when it clings to wisdom. Equality, then, is not something granted by rulers or laws. It is uncovered within the life of reason. Seneca, counselor to emperors, echoed this conviction. Wisdom, he taught, cannot be purchased with gold or passed down through bloodline. The noble person is known by justice, patience, and compassion, not by rank or possessions. Status and wealth are only costumes. When stripped away, all humans stand equal, defined solely by their character. Marcus Aurelius, himself an emperor, echoed this vision with striking humility. In his private reflections, he reminded himself that even as ruler of Rome, he was but a man, no higher in essence than the common soldier, the farmer, or the slave. His daily meditations were a practice in dissolving the illusions of superiority, choosing instead to see every human being as part of a shared cosmic community. From here, we turn to a question that remains as urgent today as it was in antiquity. If every human possesses reason, how should we respond to inherited hierarchies? Social structures may label us by profession, wealth, or origin, but the Stoics urge us to ask, what matters when those labels are peeled away? What remains is our shared capacity for virtue, our common rational nature. This reflection invites a radical shift in perspective. Rather than treating others according to their position, we are called to honor the dignity of their inner self. A Stoic would argue that to dismiss another because of their poverty or status is to blind ourselves to the essence of humanity. In truth, the beggar on the street and the leader in the palace are alike in their ability to pursue wisdom and kindness. Imagine what this means for daily life. The Stoic teaching is not merely an abstract thought, but a guide for every encounter. When you meet a colleague, a stranger, or even someone who opposes you, the question is not their rank or their power. The question is, do they act with virtue? Do you yourself respond with justice and moderation? Equality lives in these small choices. There is another layer to consider. The Stoics understood that society rarely reflects the purity of its ideals. Inequality runs through traditions, economies, and customs. To live as a Stoic is not to rebel with weapons, but to stand firm in the discipline of the mind. Structures may remain beyond your control, but your perception and treatment of others are always within your power. In this, Stoicism offers both comfort and challenge. Comfort because no external condition, poverty, obscurity, or hardship, can take away your inner worth. Virtue alone remains your crown. Challenge because you must grant the same recognition to others, refusing to reduce them to roles, ranks, or labels. Equality is not a treasure to guard for yourself. It is a way of being extended toward all. The Stoics spoke of a cosmic city, where gods and humans alike share citizenship. This wider vision dissolves divisions of caste, wealth, or nation, binding us instead by universal reason. As the stars shine impartially upon all, so too must our justice and respect radiate without distinction. To harm another is to wound the very fabric of our shared nature. Daily mindfulness can anchor this vision. At dawn, remind yourself that each person you meet carries equal rational potential. When anger stirs, pause and see the other as a fellow traveler, enduring the same fears and longings. In this way, equality becomes not abstract theory but a living practice of compassion. Educational videos on Stoic philosophy remind us that ancient wisdom was never meant to remain trapped in texts. It was crafted for living, for shaping the way we move through a world built on hierarchies. Stoicism invites us to look beyond temporary divisions and to anchor ourselves in what is eternal. By honoring reason and cultivating virtue, we slowly nurture a society that values the essence of the human spirit, not the accidents of birth or circumstance. Return to the opening question. If every human possesses reason, how should we respond to inherited social hierarchies? The Stoic response is simple yet profound. See others not as ranks or roles but as fellow travelers in the pursuit of virtue. Equality in thought and action does not erase differences in fortune or ability. It simply recognizes the shared foundation of rational dignity beneath them all. The Stoics remind us that life is fleeting, and external conditions are fragile. Wealth fades, titles vanish, and reputations dissolve with time. What remains is the mark of virtue, the justice we practiced, the kindness we gave, the integrity we upheld. Thus, the Stoic vision of equality is both radical and timeless. It calls us to rise above shallow measures of success and honor the soul of every person, emperor or slave, rich or poor. It asks us to embody this truth daily, transforming philosophy into mindful practice and calm narration in the way we live and see the world. To understand the Stoic vision of equality, we must return to its birthplace in the dynamic world of Hellenistic Greece. This was an era of conquest, fragile empires, and shifting identities. Athens, once the proud beacon of democracy, now lived in the shadow of Alexander's successors and the growing influence of Rome. Amid this uncertainty, new philosophies arose to address the anxieties of human life. Stoicism, founded by Zeno of Citium, a foreigner who began teaching on the painted porch in Athens, offered not promises of wealth or political power but guidance for living wisely. Unlike schools that catered to elites, Stoicism welcomed merchants, soldiers, slaves, and rulers alike. Its message was simple yet profound. All humans share the gift of reason, and within reason lies true freedom. This was more than abstract theory. Greek and Roman societies were sharply divided: citizen and foreigner, master and slave, man and woman. Yet Stoicism cut through these boundaries. By teaching that virtue is the only true good, it dissolved the illusion of hierarchy. Even the lowest born could attain greatness through harmony with nature and reason. Epictetus stands as a vivid example. Born into slavery, he endured hardship and humiliation, yet discovered an inner freedom his masters could never touch. His philosophy taught that external power is fragile, but self-mastery endures. A slave who lives virtuously is free. An emperor consumed by vice is in chains. Seneca, by contrast, lived amidst the luxury of Rome's elite. He saw how wealth seduced the soul into forgetting its true purpose. In his letters, he reminded both rulers and ordinary people that riches do not make one noble, and poverty does not strip dignity. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, embodied the paradox of immense power paired with Stoic humility. In his meditations, he described himself as a citizen of the larger world, bound by duty to fairness and compassion. For him, justice was not a political slogan but a spiritual responsibility that transcended class, wealth, and nationality. To understand Stoic equality, we must place it in the broader cultural soil of Greek philosophy. Thinkers like Plato and Aristotle had long debated virtue, justice, and hierarchy, yet both accepted distinctions of class and slavery as part of the natural order. The Stoics broke from this assumption in a radical way. They taught that the divine logos, the rational order of the cosmos, dwells equally in all human beings, making each person a participant in universal reason. This shift was revolutionary. Equality was no longer a political argument but a cosmic truth. If the universe is governed by reason, then every human, as a fragment of this logos, shares in that same dignity. Status, wealth, or ancestry could no longer define worth. Only the integrity of the soul mattered. Strikingly, similar insights appeared in other ancient traditions. In Hindu and Brahmanical thought, the caste system structured society. Yet the Upanishads taught that beneath all distinctions, the same divine essence, the Atman, resides in every being. The Bhagavad Gita deepened this vision, reminding its readers that true duty lies not in status but in selfless action. These teachings, like Stoicism, shifted the focus from external rank to inner virtue. In Rome, Stoicism found fertile ground precisely because it crossed social boundaries. Soldiers embraced its discipline, merchants its practicality, slaves its vision of inner freedom, and rulers its reminder of humility. It offered a way to endure hardship without losing dignity, to meet life's storms with courage and clarity. In this way, Stoicism was more than a school of philosophy. It was a bridge across divides, a reminder that beneath shifting roles and fragile hierarchies, all human beings stand as equals in the shared pursuit of wisdom. From here, we see why Stoicism considered equality an ethical imperative. If we are all fragments of reason, then to harm another is to harm ourselves. To dismiss another's worth is to deny the shared logos that unites humanity. Justice, then, is not optional. It is woven into the very structure of existence. The Stoic city is a cosmic community where every soul has a place. But there is another layer worth pausing on. The Stoics were not utopians. They did not imagine the abolition of Rome's social hierarchies. Instead, they offered an inner revolution, a way to live with dignity despite inequality. They reminded their followers that while laws and customs may divide, the soul's freedom is untouched. In this sense, Stoicism planted seeds of change without overthrowing society's structures. This historical context reminds us that philosophy grows not in isolation, but in response to human suffering. Wars, enslavement, and social division gave Stoicism its urgency. Its call to equality was not the luxury of ivory towers, but a medicine for wounds that countless people endured. The fact that a slave, a statesman, and an emperor all spoke the same philosophy shows its power to transcend circumstance. Now imagine the implications for us today. We still live in a world of hierarchies, though the names have changed: corporate titles, social media status, economic disparity. Just as in ancient times, the temptation remains to measure worth by externals. Yet the Stoics whisper across the centuries, look deeper, look within, look at the reason that makes us kin. Stoicism's historical roots show us that equality is not a modern invention, but an ancient inheritance. When we honor another person's rational capacity, we participate in a tradition stretching back to the painted porch of Athens, to the lecture halls of Rome, to the whispered prayers of mystics in India. This legacy is not meant to remain in history. It is meant to guide how we see one another today. In conclusion, Stoicism frames equality not as a political demand but as a spiritual truth. By locating worth in virtue and reason, it breaks through every hierarchy of caste or class. From the slave Epictetus to the emperor Marcus Aurelius, the message resounds. All human beings share in the same rational essence, and in this essence lies both our dignity and our destiny. Philosophy, when confined to books or lecture halls, is little more than an ornament. The Stoics knew this truth well. For them, wisdom was not to be admired from afar, but to be lived, breathed, and practiced daily. A principle left unpracticed is like a lamp without flame, visible in form but unable to give light. The challenge of Stoicism, then, is not to praise its teachings but to weave them into the fabric of ordinary life. If all human beings share reason, as the Stoics taught, then equality must begin in the way we think, speak, and act. This perspective is not gained through mere agreement but through daily discipline. The Stoics compared philosophy to training for the Olympic Games. Strength is not won in a single day, but through continual practice, resilience, and the will to rise after each failure. Consider the workplace. Titles, salaries, and ranks often build invisible walls that divide people. Yet Stoicism reminds us these are external distinctions, not measures of true worth. When you greet an assistant, a manager, or a visitor with the same respect, you are practicing genuine equality. The goal is not to ignore differences but to see beyond them, to recognize the shared rational soul that defines human dignity. The same principle extends into the family. Households often function through hierarchy, parents and children, elders and young. But Stoicism insists that beneath these roles lies the same rational nature. By listening with patience, honoring each voice, and allowing respect to guide interactions, the family shifts from being an arena of authority to a space where virtue and harmony take root. Equality here is not rebellion against order, but respect woven into daily life. This vision also touches strangers. On the street, instinct tempts us to judge by clothing, accent, or posture. Stoic mindfulness interrupts this reflex, reminding us that beneath appearances stands a fellow human being, equally capable of reason and kindness. When you stop seeing them as a label and start seeing them as a companion, you embody Stoic equality. Finally, Stoicism asks for inner work. Outward behavior flows from inward thought. Journaling, a central Stoic practice, invites daily reflection. Where did I act with justice? Where did I fail? Did I dismiss someone because of status or honor the overlooked? In such quiet questions, life itself becomes philosophy in action. Mornings, too, held special weight. Marcus Aurelius began each day by preparing himself for the inevitable, encounters with selfish, ungrateful, or ignorant people. Yet he reminded himself that these people were his kin, sharing the same divine reason. By setting his mind in this way, he transformed frustrations into chances for patience and equality. What others saw as obstacles, he trained himself to see as exercises in virtue. Meditation, in the Stoic sense, is not about emptying the mind, but filling it with clarity. It is pausing in silence to remember the common bond of humanity. This can be practiced in simple ways. Before a meeting, before stepping onto a crowded train, even before checking your phone. One breath, one thought. Every person you meet shares equal dignity and the same capacity for virtue. Such mindfulness reshapes perception and transforms the quality of interaction. Empathy was central to Stoic practice. Epictetus urged his students to imagine life in another's place. If a beggar asks for bread, picture your own hunger. If a servant labors before you, recall moments when you served others. This exercise softens judgment, anchors compassion, and reveals status as nothing more than a passing costume in life's greater play. Yet Stoicism also warns against indulgence. Equality does not mean approving every action. True respect means evaluating behavior by one measure alone: virtue. When someone acts unjustly, the Stoic response is not hatred but clarity. Here is a fellow human failing their duty to reason. Correct when necessary but never despise, for contempt injures both the despiser and the despised. Daily habits bring Stoic ideals to life. Journaling sharpens self-reflection, while gratitude refines perception. Each evening, notice moments of unexpected dignity. A child's patience, a stranger's kindness. Recording these experiences trains the soul to see equality as lived reality, not abstract concept. In the workplace, titles and pay scales may create hierarchies, but Stoicism dissolves them. Treat an intern with the same attentiveness as an executive. Listen without bias, and act fairly, not out of obligation, but because virtue demands it. These small, deliberate actions create ripples of equality that no organizational chart can erase. Personal relationships also offer a powerful space to practice Stoic equality. You are neither superior nor inferior to your partner, friend, or rival. Each person is a fellow traveler on the path of virtue. When conflicts arise, respond with fairness, exercise patience, and act with awareness that dignity belongs equally to all. Even disagreements become opportunities to embody Stoic principles in daily life. The wider challenge remains: how can we uphold equality in societies where hierarchies and biases are constantly reinforced? The Stoics answer with resilience. External voices cannot control the mind unless we allow them. Just as a sailor cannot command the wind but can adjust the sails, we cannot fully shape social structures but we can govern our own thoughts. Choosing the lens of equality frees the mind from the tyranny of appearances and places moral clarity within our control. Stoic mindfulness also reaches beyond the individual. Each fair act challenges invisible walls of hierarchy. Every gesture of respect weakens prejudice and strengthens the shared fabric of humanity. Quietly and consistently, Stoicism becomes a subtle revolution, shaping culture through ethical action rather than slogans or force. The path is clear. Virtue, not status, defines worth. Practice reinforces this truth through journaling, empathy, gratitude, mindfulness, and fairness. Step by step, Stoicism moves from page to life. Philosophy is not decoration, it is a way of being. True equality reveals itself in deeds, in how we treat others in workplaces, homes, and even in the silence of our minds. Every moment invites us to honor the shared reason that unites humanity. We live in an age of dazzling progress, yet the questions that haunted ancient philosophers remain unsolved. Technology connects us in seconds, but division lingers in our hearts. Wealth accumulates for some, while others struggle unseen. Online platforms give everyone a voice, yet also amplify prejudice. Against this backdrop, the Stoic vision of equality feels less like ancient history and more like urgent medicine for modern life. At work, hierarchies still shape our daily experience. Titles, promotions, and salaries often dictate who is heard and who is ignored. But the Stoic lens invites us to look deeper. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the dignity of a human soul is not measured by crown or cloak. In the workplace, this means seeing beyond organizational charts to honor the shared reason in each colleague, whether intern or executive. Imagine a world where meetings are guided by virtue rather than status. Ideas would be evaluated for their clarity, insight, and fairness, not for the authority of the speaker. Respect would be extended equally to all, regardless of pay grade or title. By applying Stoic equality in professional spaces, we cultivate environments where creativity and collaboration thrive, and where people are valued not for their role, but for the character they bring to the table. The online world offers a new arena for this ancient wisdom. Social media amplifies ego, comparison, and judgment. Reputation becomes a fragile external, constantly at the mercy of others' whims. Clinging to likes, shares, and followers as measures of self-worth only enslaves us to illusion. True freedom arises when we anchor our self-image in virtue, not in the shifting tides of digital approval. Yet another layer of challenge emerges online. Anonymity often emboldens cruelty, and insults travel faster than reason. The Stoic response is restraint and empathy. Instead of asking, "How should I retaliate?" we pause and ask, "How can I honor reason here?" Responding with patience, calm, or silence models the dignity Stoicism celebrates and interrupts cycles of mirrored aggression. Imagine the transformation if each online participant viewed others as partners in shared humanity, rather than opponents or stereotypes. Outrage would give way to curiosity, judgment to understanding, and communities could become spaces of connection rather than division. Stoic mindfulness applied to digital life becomes a radical practice, reminding us that equality begins in thought and radiates outward. Prejudice and discrimination, based on race, gender, class, or belief, remain persistent wounds. Stoicism offers a timeless remedy. Judge not by externals but by virtue. Seneca emphasized that nobility resides in the soul, hidden within every person. Living by this principle today means acting against injustice with steady clarity, not anger. Equality is active, it is compassion, truth, and justice in motion. In personal relationships, the Stoic vision softens pride and insecurity. Friendships become spaces for mutual growth. Family roles loosen, allowing genuine respect to flourish. Romantic partnerships balance when neither seeks dominance, but both honor shared humanity. By practicing equality in these intimate spheres, we create sanctuaries of harmony that ripple into the wider world. The modern workplace, home, and online world all benefit from daily mindfulness. Begin the day as Marcus Aurelius did, reminding yourself that you will meet people who frustrate, offend, or disappoint you. Yet each of them is your kin, sharing the same rational nature. When this perspective becomes habit, impatience softens into compassion, and irritation transforms into opportunity for practice. But daily practice requires discipline. Journaling remains one of the most powerful tools. Each night, reflect on how you treated others. Did you honor their dignity, or did you fall into judgment? Where did prejudice shape your reaction, and where did virtue guide you? These reflections are not about guilt but growth. They help us see patterns, adjust behavior, and deepen commitment to equality. Gratitude, too, is a modern spiritual exercise. In a world fixated on flaws and outrage, gratitude reminds us of the quiet goodness scattered throughout daily life. Perhaps a colleague showed patience, or a stranger held open a door. Recording these moments of shared humanity strengthens our awareness that virtue is not bound to rank or identity. It shines through all people, often in surprising ways. From here, we turn to the broader community. Stoicism does not ask us to withdraw from society, but to participate with integrity. Volunteering, mentoring, or simply offering kindness to strangers becomes an extension of philosophy. By practicing equality in community spaces, we counter the forces of division with small but meaningful acts of unity. These acts may not dismantle systems overnight, but they cultivate the soil in which justice grows. Modern reflections on ancient wisdom invite us to reconsider the nature of leadership. A true Stoic leader does not seek to dominate but to serve. Marcus Aurelius bore the weight of empire, yet reminded himself daily to act with justice, humility, and virtue. Today, whether leading a team, a family, or oneself, leadership grounded in equality fosters stability, clarity, and moral guidance in turbulent times. Consider the unexplained mysteries of human connection. Across cultures and centuries, people have longed for fairness, respect, and recognition of shared dignity. Archaeological discoveries show that even ancient societies practiced rituals reflecting equality in life and death. This continuity suggests that Stoic equality is not a modern invention, but a rediscovery of a universal truth. Beneath all differences, we share a common humanity. From here, ask, how might daily actions change if we judged others only by moral character? Workplaces could prioritize fairness, online spaces empathy, and families mutual respect. These are not distant ideals but daily practices. Stoic equality is a discipline to embody, an active living philosophy shaping thought, behavior, and the communities we touch. In conclusion, modern life offers countless distractions and divisions, yet the ancient Stoic call to equality remains steady. By honoring virtue over status, compassion over prejudice, and reason over impulse, we can live with clarity and moral purpose. Ancient philosophy becomes a living guide, not locked in time but alive in every action, every word, every breath. Stoicism reminds us that spiritual equality transcends caste, wealth, and social rank. What matters is not the garments of status, but the virtue we choose to live by each day. When we practice reflection, compassion, and mindfulness, we begin to dissolve the illusions that divide us. We see each person, friend, colleague, or stranger, not through the lens of hierarchy, but through the light of shared humanity. Take this teaching with you. Notice your biases, soften your judgments, and honor the reason that lives within every soul. In doing so, you cultivate not only personal peace but also the foundation for a more just and harmonious world. Thank you for joining us here at Stoic Dhamma. Reflect on your own encounters today, and let them guide you toward living more wisely. Subscribe for more insights into philosophy as a way of life, and stay with us for our next reflection. Don't waste time. How to become a better human today.
References 1. Haddett, P. 1995. Philosophy is a Way of Life, Spiritual Exercises from Socrates to Foucault. Blackwell.2, Irvine, W. B., 2009. A Guide to the Good Life, The Ancient Art of Stoic Joy. Oxford University Press. 3. Long, A. A., 1996. Stoic Studies. Cambridge University Press.